Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Ed.
Hey. Hey, guess what? Did you realize it's the 35th anniversary of Howard the Duck?
Oh, Ed. I hate that movie. That movie was terrible. It laid a huge egg. Just start the stupid show, will you?
Hey, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If you're seeing us for the very first time, welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks to all the new subscribers. If you're a regular, welcome back. We've got a great show for you today. But before we begin, if you want to subscribe, how can you do so, Mitch?
Oh, Ed, is as simple as a chicken laying an egg. All you do is press the subscribe button right below on your computer, and you will be notified when Ed and I go on an excellent adventure. Plus, while you're there, hit that like button because that helps us get some better ratings too.
Absolutely. And don't forget to comment as well. You know, if you like the show, or maybe you've got an idea for the show, or you've got some memories about what we're talking about. And we are talking about Howard the Duck.
Oh God, Ed, that movie. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
It's look, I'm a Lucasfilm fan, and I was there in 1986, excited to see it. I remember I didn't know anything about his origin, so I didn't know he was a comic book character or anything that. And I remember explicitly on Entertainment Tonight, they had an interview with Howard. And people were saying how amazing the costume was and everything like that. And look, it is a technical piece of wizardry they do. It is amazing. Yeah. But I was going, that's just looks like a kid in a suit.
Well, Ed, I was more disappointed because I had been reading the adventures of Howard the Duck since he first appeared in my giant-sized man thing. Yes, Howard the Duck.
I'm sure there's a cream for that. If a duck appears in your giant.
Now, this is the first issue right there of Man Thing, and Howard the Duck he's not even on the cover. He didn't even make it to the cover, but he does show up because he comes from a mythical place called Duckworld. Okay, and there is a story that takes place in the nexus of all realities, and that's where the swamp that the Man Thing lives in. And Howard, there he is right there, got sucked into it by accident. He was just going through his day in Duckworld, and he gets sucked into this adventure over here in Man Thing. And you know what? He was so cool that they killed him. He was dead. And then there was an outcry. They're like, what happened to the little duck? He was funny. He was a little sarcastic guy with a cigar in his mouth. And they go, don't worry, Marvel fans, we'll bring him back. And they did in giant-sized Man Thing, Ed. Right there. He came back. And it did so well, they gave him his own book. Look at that. Howard the Duck by Steve Gerber. Okay? This was a big deal. So much so, Ed, did you know that Howard the Duck ran for president in the United States?
And how did he go?
It did pretty well. It was running against Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford. This is 1976. There was buttons made. There was T-shirts made. They're actually pretty pricey on eBay and stuff. There's replicas too, but the original ones are hard to come by. And it was a legit thing. I think he got a couple thousand write-in votes, which is crazy. But considering some of the candidates we had lately, why not a duck? Okay,
that's right.
He was so popular that he even had a comic strip in the newspaper. So he's in comic books. He's in comic strips. There was no end to Howard Mania back in the late 70s.
And I did read about how they sort of got a stern letter from Walt Disney Productions because they were going, he was he looked a little bit like Donald Duck.
Yeah,
so they
if
actually
you look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they actually
close.
got the Disney artists were going to redesign Howard the Duck, and essentially the main thing they did was they changed his bill a little bit and things like that.
Yeah.
But the main thing was they put pants on him because that was Donald's thing.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is too that when they translate Howard the Duck overseas, a lot of countries when they go to switch it out, it just came across as the duck. And then when you had Donald Duck, it was just still the duck. So you'd have these comic books and you'd have a little kid and he'd pick it up and he wouldn't know the difference between Donald the Duck with his little sailor outfit and then Howard the Duck, who's over there drinking booze and smoking a cigar and running around with his girlfriend Beverly, and they were making out and he was fighting villains like Dr. Bong. These are not your comic books that you want to read for little kids. Okay. So yeah, that helped a little bit too. And of course, Marvel, way before they became part of Disney, this is in the late 70s, they weren't going to go against the Mighty Mouse and his lawyers. So they said, okay, we'll do what you want. We'll put some pants on the guy. We'll change the bill, his little nose, so it doesn't look just like Donald, and we'll calm him down a little bit. But you know what, though, Ed? He was so popular. You know why? Because he's not like a duck. It's not like, Huey, Dewey, and Louie or Donald or Uncle Scrooge McDuck. What Howard the Duck is, back in the 70s, you had characters like Archie Bunker here in the United States, and you had like outspoken people. It was like the time where you could be satirical and political and you could say what's on your mind, and there was no cancel culture and there was no PC. And basically that's what Howard the Duck was. Writer Steve Gerber was known for his like out there, sarcastic, humorous. Basically Howard the Duck was kind of a satire and a look at the world, but what's different? It's coming through a little duck. So that way you could say things that you normally wouldn't be able to say if it was a human character, but because it's a duck, it's absurd to begin with. So he got away with a lot more than your typical character. And that's what made Howard the Duck so popular, especially to catch the attention of a certain Mr. George Lucas, who was a huge Howard the Duck fan. And if it wasn't for Star Wars, Howard the Duck might be on the screens even in the late 70s, but George got sucked into the world a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So that took his attention for years, but he always had the idea, someday I'm going to go back and I'm going to make a Howard the Duck big motion picture.
And sadly he did. He approached his American Graffiti co-writers, Willard Hike and Gloria Katz, who also worked on Temple of Doom in 1984. And said,
more American Graffiti too, right?
Didn't they yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And saying this would be a great film. So it originally started off, I believe, as an animated film. They were looking to do it as an animated film. And then things moved along where it just went, I think we can do this live action. If ILM do the visual effects, they can do anything. But no, they can't. Not really. If you've seen some of it, it's got some good special effects, and you've got Howard the Duck. They came on board. This should have been 1986. Around that time, there was Back to the Future. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Not a fan. I wouldn't say a kids film. It's a bit more of a teenagers film, but it was a huge blockbuster around that time. There was a lot of that was the era of those special effects summer blockbusters that that you would get. Not so much a blockbuster. I think 86 also was My Science Project. I really love that film. I think that it didn't do really well, but
no. But we just had come off of, like you said, Indiana Jones, the Star Trek movie, Star Trek Wrath of Khan. We had E.T., we had Poltergeist, we had Gremlins, we had the Return of the Jedi. There was just so much science fiction, fantasy films in the early 80s. It was like the golden age. So, why not a duck? Why a duck? Why not try something new and different? And like I said, Lucas was behind it, and he was at the time the peak of his power. I mean, literally, one after another. The Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Return of the Jedi, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I mean, he kept hitting one after another out of the ballpark. So anything with his name attached to it was destined for gold at the box office, And Marvel Comics, I mean, there was no Spider-Man, there was no Fantastic Four, there was no Avengers, but people like comic books, and it was going to be something different. It was
Yep.
irreverent, and like you said, Gloria Katz and Willard Hayek were attached. Was it William or Willard?
Willard.
I think it's Willard. Oh, so why not? I mean, they did a good job on the Temple of Doom, and they're all good. And ILM, you got the soup, you pour it in. It's got the making of a brilliant, epic movie.
And then no.
And then no. And you know what? You watch that movie, and I think from the word go, literally from the word go, the first day on the set, you talked about how they said, well, we got ILM. Let's try to do it as a live action movie. We've had success with Ewoks, and we could do costumes in, Jabba the Hutt. We know how to do special effects from creatures and such. So yeah, all right, we'll try it with a little person, a small actor to get in there, and we'll do things. We did it with Yoda. That was a puppet. And I don't know if they even ever thought about doing Howard as a puppet like Yoda, because I watched it and I go, you know what? Maybe that would have been a little better if they did like a Muppet, like a Miss Piggy type of thing,
Yeah, I think the problem is, like, they spent $2 million on that
Suit.
duck suit, and there's a whole story of you can go online to find how someone found it in a they found no one really wanted it after the movie. It turned up on eBay, and you got a story about that?
I not only do I know a story, but I know the guy who owns it.
Really?
Okay. Oh yeah, Arnie Carvalho, who's a huge podcaster. He's been doing this stuff for years. Star Wars Action News, now playing movie reviews. He does Marvelicious Toys. I've been listening to him and his wife for years. He's a huge Howard the Duck collector. He's just obsessed with Howard the Duck. He owns the I guess you want to call it the headgear that they wore. The actor Ed Gale, the actor that was in the suit, he wore it, and it's foam rubber, whatever. It's all come apart, but there's still the armatures or whatever you want to call it, the skeleton parts underneath of it that made the mouths move and all that. Arnie owns all this stuff. He bought it. He's the guy on eBay you talk about.
Yeah,
he's the guy. He bought everything Howard the Duck with the movie. I mean, it's his rosebud. I don't know. We should get Arnie on here to talk about why, but I mean, Leah Thompson knows Arnie. Ed Gale knows him. They all know Arnie Carvalho because he's the collector of this stuff, and he has all this stuff. And like you said, those headpieces, I think they were like, I'm gonna throw a number out. I think just the headpiece was like $50,000 just for that mask that made the mouth move and the eyes, go back and forth like that. And it was all, animatronic guys off.
It was
to the
all
side
remote control. They did
control.
Yeah, and they did have puppeteers. So Tim Rose, who most people, well, Star Wars fans
Salacious
probably know
Crumb.
as Admiral Akbar. So he's credited as one of the people playing Howard. So for certain shots, and it was a technical piece of wizardry, but it just looked. You know what? I think it is. I never knew Howard the Duck, and it's quite funny looking at, all the artwork and everything like that they use for the poster.
Yeah.
He didn't resemble the comic book, even the changed version at all, did he?
No. Even after they change it from like this is basically Donald Duck. I mean, you can't get away from that. Then they change him to his, pants version. Here he is in the movie,
Yeah.
This looks more like a duck than what was on the film, and it's because it's not the lawsuit. It's not the Disney thing. That wasn't overhead. I think, like you said, they're trying to hide a lot of the wires and a lot of the costumes and such, and it didn't move right. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes when there's a fight scene in a diner where it is not live action. It's almost like stagnant action. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, this is not a fight sequence. But going back, before you even get to the suit, the problem starts with Howard the Duck is you don't know where you're going. I remember putting it on for my kids years ago, and now they're going for psychological, help for years, and the psychiatry bills are through the roof because I had forgotten how bad, and this movie is bad. There's no getting around that. We'll talk about, like, is it that bad? That's the title of the show.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find some glimmer of brilliant moments, but I doubt it. it's just a mess. It's like from the moment it goes and Howard's there, and like I said, he's kind of like this radical. You see pictures of him as a hippie with all the marijuana plants, and he's just a bitter guy. He's coming home drinking his beer. The first thing we see him is opening up the wrapper on Play Duck magazine, which was kind of
Yes.
like their version of
There's a lot of
Playboy.
duck nudity in this.
There's duck boobies in this thing right in the beginning of the movie. And I remember watching that and I go, did I just see but ducks don't nurse their children. Okay. They don't,
But they've evolved. Remember, Tim Robbins.
Yeah, they did evolve. So somehow there's still an egg. They don't need to have amniotic fluid because it's all inside an egg. But why would you need to nurse the baby? Whatever.
Yeah.
He's flying through space. That's kind of like with the comic book. He's just plucked. He's plucked out of his world and he's thrown into, as we always say in the comics, trapped in a world he never made.
Yes.
That's the tagline of Howard the Duck. He's stuck here. He can't get back to Duckworld. And he just makes the go of it. He's just like, okay, I'm here. I'm gonna do something. So
what I think and the thing is, you see, you sort of they don't show him at the very start. It's all sort of like, oh, this is just some guy going to his apartment, but then you get some hints. You see a Mae West style poster. You see Breeders of the Lost Stork.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. There is some kind of weird movie thing. Yeah.
So you see that and go, hang on, oh, that's not Harrison Ford. That's a duck.
Breeders of the
Lost Stork. You go, okay, all right. I get fine. Lot of duck puns, and there he is.
Jokes.
But you don't sort of know why he's chosen, or he gets basically flung through space and lands in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah. And that's where you start to meet the human characters. Now we've got Leah Thompson, who's fresh off Back to the Future, playing Lorraine.
In Space Camp. Don't forget Space Camp.
I forgot Space Camp.
Well, no, she had done Back to the Future and Space Camp, and she tells a funny story how she tried out for this role because everybody was talking about this movie. I'm telling you, this was supposed to be a huge hit because George Lucas was attached to it.
Yep.
And she ran to the 5 and Dime store, the thrift shop, and she bought all this trashy looking Madonna jewelry and makeup, and she teased her hair. She was so desperate to get this part as Beverly because it was going to be the huge movie. She was already in Back to the Future. And now I'm going to be the next big blockbuster. So anyway, she got the part.
Yeah. And so she plays Beverly, who's the lead singer of Cherry Bomb.
Yeah.
And the other, I suppose, there's really mainly three other cast members.
Tim Robbins.
Yeah. Philzy. Now you realize, his character's name.
Phil?
No. Philip Bloomberg.
Wait a minute, like Captain Bloomberg from Indiana Jones?
Exactly the same.
Temple of Doom? I didn't know that. Wait, the actor that played his name was Philip something.
Philip Stone.
Philip Stone. Yeah. Oh, you think that's why they named him Bloomberg?
Well, given that they had worked on Temple of Doom.
Oh, okay. Wait, didn't the Hayeks... Oh, no, I'm thinking Kate Capshaw was in a movie with Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy called Best Defense. And I don't know if the Hayeks had anything to do with that, but I do remember that she was in a scene, Kate Capshaw was, and she's in a car and she's whistling the theme to Indiana Jones. So there's a little hint of Indiana Jones music in this fight scene with Howard when he lands in Cleveland in the alleyway. Did you catch it?
No.
It was like, dun, 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 dun. It just for a minute. It starts with the John Williams Raiders March, and then they quickly probably cut
I'm not
away
going to go back to watch it. Sorry.
No. But now that when he's in the alley, when he first lands there, and he saves Beverly from the muggers or whatever, there is a little din 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 din.
And that's the other thing that there's so many things wrong with this movie is that it's so the depictions of 80s rockers and punks is so I feel
over
like
it's
it's like a movie version of, it's just ridiculous.
Well, is it any worse than the Terminator? Because this was about the same time, and he lands in that
they weren't
LA with the punk rockers, and you had what's the actor's name that passed away? I think that was his first part in a James Cameron movie.
Oh, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, he's one of the punk people when Arnold lands there. So anyway, Howard lands there. He hooks up with Beverly. She takes him in. We don't know why. Phil's there. He explains where Howard comes from and how the whole evolution difference.
So that's Tim Robbins. So
Tim Robbins
as Philip Bloomberg, who's this crazy nerd.
One day to win an Academy Award. Let's mind you, these are not bad actors. These are like top quality people. Maybe not on their game, but Tim Robbins is a big name eventually. So
I think they're all having fun and giving it 100% in this movie. You know,
I just don't know what movie they're in.
Yeah, no one wants to make a bad movie, but I think they tonally this film, as we said, doesn't know what it is. Is it a kids film?
And then you have
an adult film? Is it
especially when Jeffrey Jones pops in? He's the wasn't he like the token bad guy in all those 80s movies?
Well, Ferris Bueller and
Ferris
that.
Bueller,
he was in Beetlejuice as well. And
that's right. Yeah. He was the guy.
Yeah, and he was really good. I mean, I think as the Dark Overlord, you know, he was giving it 110%. The makeup design was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was right up there with like Zool from Ghostbusters. I always got that effect, you know, he's like he's doing the voice, you know, like I'm gonna do something to pies in a diner. I don't know why, but I'm just and that hurts your throat when you do that. But
But look, he was great as that character. It didn't make a lot of sense. He's going, I can feel it growing inside me. It is doing, you know. And I'm going, okay, thank you, exposition man. Come on. Let's just be a little bit smarter about this. Essentially, basically, what happened is when Howard gets sent down, so do these dark overlords of the universe, and basically one gets somehow implanted into Jeffrey Jones, and he decides to bring his buddies down. So what does Howard have to do? Well, he has to stop them, which means if he does stop them, he won't be able to get back home. And that's essentially
what you just said is the plot of the story. But meanwhile, we have to go into funny yuck territory where Howard goes to get a job, and he goes down to the unemployment agency, and he wears little sunglasses, and isn't that funny? And he's got a little hat on, and he always bites the lady's butt. And then he gets a job working in an adult massage parlor.
Yeah.
Why? We don't know. And he's underwater in a hot tub, and is there nudity in that scene, or is my brain just in the background imagining?
No, there was no nudity. Just scantily clad people.
I don't know where this was. I mean, what was going on in this bathhouse or wherever he was working. And
they were doing it in the corridors.
They were doing it in the corridors on the floor, and then he's just going around with a mop. And I'm like, well, whatever. I don't know I don't even want to think what he's mopping up. But the other thing is, I'm not even going to go down that course. But it was the middle of the 80s, and if it's as someone who grew up in the 80s, we knew things were changing a little bit when it came to this like casual sex in the hallways and stuff. I mean, this was like 86 or so. You don't.
Again, everything was just
makes no sense.
You know,
no sense. But he did have a condom. I will say this: Howard did practice safe sex. At one point, Beverly goes through his wallet and she finds a condom. Not in a wrapper. It's just out. And kids, if you're watching the show, make sure it's always in the wrapper. Do not use it. And I didn't even know ducks have penises, but that's another story. They have breasts, so why not a penis? Hey, whatever.
That'll be the title. That should be the title.
I never
of
thought in my life on this earth, I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. I didn't know ducks have penises, and why we're talking about a duck and a penis.
I know.
But then why are we talking about this movie? Because again, why? What? I mean, do people see him as a duck? Did you notice that when you're watching the movie? Like he's going down the street and a guy yells at the window, "Hey man, that guy's a duck!" And I'm like, yeah, okay. So they all know he's a duck. It doesn't freak anybody out.
They're a little bit shocked. I mean, you know, when they're at the fountain, you know, I think, you know, at the outside the museum, but
and he does that little bit where he's like, and he chases people away. But
no one's
freaking out.
It's all pretty stupid. The police end up, you know, arresting him, and it's, I think is it Paul Guilfoyle, who's best known from CSI as as one of, you know, the police chief or whatever.
Yeah.
That, you know, a young version of him. and then there's some you know, basically they escape. Look, you know, we're saying what are some of the good things about this movie?
Oh no, we said is it that bad? Okay, but before we do that, I'm gonna say the worst fight scene in cinematic history is in that diner when Howard's there and those three rednecks. Again, they're in Cleveland, Ohio, not down south.
Yeah.
But for some reason, these truck drivers show up.
Oh,
and they have these southern accents.
Awful. That scene.
It is like, just, hey, you got a problem, buddy? And he does this fight scene. And again, because of the limitations of the costume, he is a master of quack fu, which you don't understand. But there's going to be a movie coming out this year called Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. Yeah. In the comics, I think it's issue 4, Howard the Duck is a master of quack fu, and he wears this Kung Fu outfit. It's on the cover.
Okay.
But he doesn't do any of his quack fu. He stands on the counter with pies, and for some bizarre reason, these roughnecks, these hooligans, run towards him and basically put their faces in the pies. If you watch it, he doesn't throw them. He's not hurling the pies. He kind of just holds them, and they kind of go at him, and they just inadvertently just smash their head into a pie.
And then everyone and then everyone in the diner decides to murder him.
Oh yeah, I forgot they get a butcher knife and they hold Howard down, and the cook is about to chop his head off.
Yeah. Now, the cook, did you notice that the cook, I'll put a picture up, is wearing an Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom t-shirt.
And isn't there a kid in the place wearing an
Empire he's wearing his Empire Strikes Back t-shirt as well.
Is George Lucas in this movie? Because I swear they're dropping hints there's probably a Toad reference, some American Graffiti. They probably threw that if we go, but I don't want to watch it again. I don't want to watch it again. Now, we didn't talk about this. We forgot to. I saw this in the theaters, Ed.
Yeah, me too.
I actually bought the movie poster from the Lucasfilm fan club, and I have it upstairs, but I told you before we filmed this today, I did not want to even bother go dig through my movie poster collection to find the Howard the Duck to put up there. Let it be said, it's just an egg with a little cigar. And that's another thing. They didn't know how to market this movie. No. I saw a trailer for this movie with Leah Thompson, and she was laying there like all seductive. And it was kind of like back in the 80s, there was these blue jeans commercials that would have Brooke Shields, and the camera slowly panned across Leah's body, and she's talking about, hey, I just met this guy, and he just saved me, and he flipped my world upside down. So even before Howard the Duck came out, you never saw him. They were holding that reveal of the costume was going to blow your mind. It's going to be like E.T. You know, you don't want to see it. So, what's this Howard the Duck? Again, that didn't tell you what the movie's about. And Howard, like I said, is a comic book, but he was a very niche comic. It wasn't like Spider-Man or the Hulk or Captain America. Mm-hmm. You kind of knew about him, but he wasn't that popular. His series got canceled after 32 issues. They brought him back in another magazine. That got canceled. They had a newspaper strip. The creator, Steve Gerber, sued Marvel over the rights to it. That got pulled. I mean, he was not like the most popular comic book character in the history of the world.
Yes.
There was even, I don't know, I know they didn't have this down where you were. We had a 900 number that you could call, and you would hear Howard the Duck, the guy who did the voice, on the phone. And he was like, hey, this is Howard the Duck, and I'm coming to a movie theater near you. And me and my friend Beverly getting some crazy adventures with an overlord. You'll find out on August 1st when Howard the Duck comes into your world. You had to pay money to listen to this stupid phone message about Howard the damn Duck. I might have paid. Okay, I admit it. But anyway, I didn't know what I was getting into. And from the moment the lights went out in that theater and the Lucasfilm Limited logo showed up, and I got the chills because that meant I was going to be in for some great entertainment. It just went downhill faster than a roller coaster from the second you saw him walking through Duckworld and going into the earth. You would talk, is it really that bad? I'm going to tell you right now, other than parts of Leah Thompson's body, what is good about this movie, Mr. Dollister?
Okay. I'll tell you, there's a few things. One thing that's not very good is the John Barry score. It
No, I didn't
sounds.
say not good. You said
I know.
it's bad.
Just
Okay.
okay. I just want to say the John Barry score doesn't fit this movie at all, and they
Is
got
that John Barry from
the James Bond.
James Bond movie?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to know. I thought there might have been a different John Barry because I
No.
saw that too, and I go, it can't be the same composer, but
The
it was.
music just
Okay.
doesn't fit that theme, and it sounds like there's like it's a like there's
It
five
sounds like
guys. From
Ghostbusters. It sounds like Elmer Bernstein. It was kind of like
yes.
that
Yep.
operatic
Yep.
symphonic
And
sound.
they did
Okay.
get Sylvester Levy to come in to do a few like to make it a bit more contemporary. He actually is he wrote Fly Robin Fly by the Silver Convention. Fly Robin Fly up into the sky. Anyway, that's bad. Few things I liked about this movie. I thought the paraglider chase with Tim Robbins was pretty fun. Okay.
It's too long. It's fun, but it goes on for like 20 minutes. It would have been fine for 10, but okay.
I
That's all
thought
I'm
I
saying.
thought the effects in that and the use of no blue screen, but actually having them fly, I thought that was really good.
That's Joe Johnston.
Yes, it is.
Joe
He
Johnston
designed
from
that whole sequence.
that part is good. Like I said, it's just a bit long. The thing of it is, you're right. It's all aerial effects. It's all done with real, practical effects and
Yep.
models maybe. And Joe is gonna. I think this might be his first directorial, second unit directorial stuff. And again, people know him from Empire Strikes Back. He did the Walkers and Raiders of the Lost Ark. He did the Ghost coming out and all that stuff. And then he's going to go on, of course, to make The Rocketeer, Captain America, Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, The Werewolf, all that stuff. So this is his first getting his feet wet, like a duck. But I just think that goes on a little too long. Okay, so we're gonna give the glider. What else do you like about this?
I liked also the Phil Tippett stop motion evil overlord,
the Overlord
at the end. I thought that
this was still stop motion, right? There's no CGI yet.
Yeah,
so
I think they used.
I
think it's like go motion, so where it blurs. So they did that like with
the Rancor
Skywalkers and everything like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was great fun, and I liked the visual effects. Most of the visual effects, there are some not great visual effects, but a lot of
when they
animated,
open the portal.
Yeah. Well, more with Jeffrey Jones as the Dark Overlord with these lights and him glowing and the lightning effects were really
like quite the Emperor.
Quite good. And when they when he held them in like stasis and they're all Tim Robbins and Leah Thompson are like that. That's some good effects. So I like those bits. So I like little moments, but as a whole film, it's horrendous. Thomas Dolby did the music.
That's it. Thomas Dolby. Yes, this was the height of the 80s and MTV.
So, he did. I
blinded me with science.
And
yeah.
And all that. And that wasn't great. I
don't know. And I'm starting to think, did Weird Science come out at the same time? With
Weird
Anthony
Science
Michael
was 85.
Hall?
That was the year before, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because I was thinking this, again, we talked about like Real Genius, Weird Science. There was this whole bunch of movies that came out in the mid 80s.
Yeah, my science project, all that. Yeah,
Val Kilmer, all that, where it's kind of like a crazy, wacky science, nerdy people. And I think that's what they were going for with the Phil character. I'm like, okay, that's one movie. And then you've got, I'm gonna say like Flashdance or something with the Leah Thompson character, where she's like this young wannabe singer, and they're trying something there, and that's that story. And then you got the Ghostbusters, type of thing going on with Jeffrey Jones, and then you get this Howard. And again, the real reason why this movie doesn't work so much is because it's 4 or 5 different concepts, and then they're trying to wrap it around this idea that it's supposed to be a comedy or a funny movie. There's no humor in this movie. It's very dark.
Yeah.
It's just depressing. I mean, Howard is a depressing character, which is fine. That's what he's like in the comics, but he's kind of likable in the comics because he's, like I said, like an Archie Bunker. You don't agree with him, but you kind of like, it's amusing to watch him stumble through adventures or whatever happens to him, because in the comics, he's meeting wizards. He's fighting people from other dimensions and stuff. And it's so absurd because you're like, well, the hero's a freaking duck. And that's the humor of it all. Because it's just like, it's just out there. It's a crazy concept. That craziness never comes across in this movie. It's just, it's really bad. I can't just tell you how bad this movie is unless you sit through it and watch it. And I did it in the movie theaters, and I did it years later for my kids, and I would not watch it again for our review tonight. I was like, I can't go back. I can't.
Well, I did, and yeah, I thought it had, those films where you go, oh, maybe they're not as bad, like our title, not as bad as we remembered, or but it has not, it hasn't aged well, unfortunately.
No.
The everything about it is, somewhat dated. There are
Okay,
some,
wait, backtrack. Did we finish what you liked about the movie? That was it?
I think that's
the
pretty
effects.
much.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't cut you up, but there is no more. Nothing.
I like Jeffrey Jones's character. I thought he was quite, fun as the evil overlord, but no, it's a chore to watch.
It's a chore, yeah.
And it's sad, sort of.
No, it's sad. Look, and when I mentioned Leah Thompson before, because there's a bedroom scene in this film, and I don't know how old she was when she made this movie. I'm gonna say maybe like late 1920, maybe early career. I mean, I think she's about my age right now, and this was almost a career killer for this young actress, because I think after this movie, nobody wanted to work with these people. I don't think the Hayeks and the Gloria Katz, I don't think they worked again until Lucas hired them for Radioland Murders years later.
Well, Willard Huyck never directed again after this.
That's what this movie was like, a career killer. It's amazing Tim Robbins came back. It's amazing Leah Thompson. I think she went on to Caroline in the City right after this.
And she did some kind of wonderful, I think.
Some kind of wonderful. With the guy that was originally Marty McFly, Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
I think they might have been dating, if I recall, or something like that. I think they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But it's amazing that anybody ever worked again after this picture, because it was such a dud. And I think it opened up, I'm going to say it cost $40 million to make, roughly. Maybe it made $10 million when it came out that year.
Yeah, it didn't.
And it didn't do well.
It was dead on arrival, this film.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there was no merchandise. We've got,
you got a comic book
yeah,
adaptation from Marvel. Of course it's from Marvel.
Yeah.
Because, they did it. Nobody cares. I mean, I got this for like $2. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I've got the novel here by Ellis Weiner, who is from National Lampoon, and the book is actually quite funny.
Really?
It's quite a good book. It breaks the fourth wall. It's really quite. It's a bit like
well, that's what the comic book was like.
Yeah, it's a bit like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in that style. It's actually quite good.
I've never read the book. I don't even know. Where'd you find that? Like at a dime store?
I bought that. No, I got that when the movie came out. So.
Oh, really? That's original. Yeah. There is an album out there. There's a record album.
I know I had it. I couldn't find it. Yeah.
I saw it when I was on vacation at Martha's Vineyard years ago. It was in a record shop, and I saw it. And I remember taking a picture and sent it to Arnie Carvalho, and he said, "Oh, already got it," because he has everything for it. Right now, live on camera.
Yeah.
Unopened pack from 1986. The Topps Chewing Gum Company. I'm reading it right here. Marvel Comics Group. Again, Marvel Comics, with $1 billion Marvel franchise we all talk about. This is their very first movie.
It is. I mean, they had a Captain America serial.
Yeah, but that was 1990. Well, there's that.
But that's a serial, not a movie. So yeah.
No. I'm gonna open this right now. The only good thing that might have come out of this film. Look at that. You could smell the 80s.
Yeah.
It smells like broken dreams and hair gel.
And careers, that's right.
All right. Look at that. Still there in case somebody wants it.
Yeah.
Here's the gum. Okay.
Is it solid?
I could shave with this. I
probably maybe don't chew it, I think.
Oh, well, hold on. Let's look at the cards. I might chew it. We'll do anything to get ratings on this show. Including I might reenact the whole Leah Thompson scene with my underwear and climb across the bed. Look at that. We've got Howard trading cards. There he is.
Yeah.
Even the drawing of Howard on the back looks bad. It looks like a like when somebody died, they propped him up years ago to take pictures of him. They couldn't even get the drawing right on this stuff, but he's in the laboratory. Oh, the ketchup catastrophe when Jeffrey Jones was making the ketchup bottles explode because they're a bad thing. Motorcycle, that's right. What was it called? Satan's Sluts?
It was.
They were chasing, there's the motorcycle scene. Yeah. There's Jennings' Mad Lab. There's Leah or Leia. You say Leia or Leah?
I say Leah Thompson, I think.
Duckovision. I don't even remember this.
I think that was you got to
Crazy
see
Webby.
Yeah, there were all those different like ads on TV when he was switching through the stations.
He's unstoppable. That's about the Overlord. We've got waddling off in a huff. This is when he's mad about something. Oh, Duckovision. Count Duckula? Do you remember that?
Let's have a look.
He's like a vampire. Now this was in the comic books. He becomes like a vampire. But I don't remember this in the movie. Do you?
Maybe that was when he was switching channels at the start, I think.
Yeah, this could have saved the movie. I mean, good evening, says the creepy character in a cape. I want to suck your blood. That does it. Howard shuts the TV off and relaxes in his chair. Yeah. Suddenly, mysteriously, the chair vibrates. And what could be happening? And of course, finally, Lord Love a Duck. There she is. Of course, we never saw them fornicate on camera, thank God. And lucky me.
That would be, yes.
I got a sticker. I got a Howard the Duck sticker. Look at that.
Wow.
Piece of a puzzle when he's wearing that great disguise. And that's that for the merchandise. There's trading cards. I don't know if they're cheap. I hope I didn't just ruin my kids' college education by opening those.
I doubt it.
Here we go.
Okay.
It's just snap. It's not supposed to crunch. It's crunchy. I'm gonna let it, hold on.
No, you know it's gonna be like the Mentos. It's gonna explode.
It'd be like Pop Rocks. I just wanted to put some moisture on there to lubricate it a bit. Well, it's in my mouth. We'll see what happens. Anyway,
right. So basically, it flopped. Yes, the film
flopped. There's a comic book. There's adaptations. The only other merchandise I have is this. Now, wait a minute. Wait, before. Do you know of any other Howard the Duck merchandise from the 80s?
Not from the movie. They had a bit of a tie-in with Budweiser.
No, there was a video game.
Oh yeah, on Volcano Island.
Yeah, and you had to go fly in the hang glider or the whatever that thing was called that you like so much.
But it wasn't. I don't love it. Jeez, anyway. I'm not going to go out and buy one, but the video game was not really a tie into the movie, but you did have to rescue Filzy and Beverly. Are you okay?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
It tastes like. Oh God! I shouldn't be able to swallow. It tastes like Pez. Anyway,
so I was just.
What? I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Good. I was just going to say that the movie obviously the movie flopped big time.
It laid an egg. It
did lay an egg, and essentially it caused Lucasfilm with some problems. He was going through a costly divorce at the time. He was also building Skywalker Ranch, so he had not money troubles, but needed to get some cash. Okay, and basically he goes, "What can I do to raise some capital?" So he had to sell his computer division.
Yes, which becomes
Pixar.
Steve Jobs gets involved. It becomes Pixar. So if it wasn't for Howard the Duck being a piece of crap, we never would have had Toy Story.
That's correct.
That's one way to look at it. There is something good. We talked about, is it as bad? Yes, it is bad. But if it wasn't for Howard the Duck, you wouldn't have Wall-E. You wouldn't have Finding Nemo. You wouldn't have Buzz and Woody. Thank you, Howard the Duck, for sucking so bad. That gave us those good movies from years to come. Now, go back. He's out of the comic books. The movie tanks. He pops up again here and there.
Hold on. Can I say?
What?
Well, I was just going to say for the for the Australian and overseas releases, they got rid of Howard the Duck and they just called it Howard, a New Breed of Hero.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
why?
Because see where it's got a new breed of hero.
Oh yeah.
Because they wanted to disassociate it with the duck because they, no one wanted to see the duck movie because it was such crap. So they go, well, let's
it's
call
like
it
Babe. It's like Babe the Pig movie.
Well, I suppose.
Remember Babe? No, because there was Babe the talking pig, and then there was another one called Gordy, which was also a talking pig. So you probably didn't want to confuse the two talking pig movies. They came out at the same time. God forbid somebody made another duck movie, and they were like, oh, we can't have that. So Howard goes away. He pops up here and there in comics. Steve Gerber, God rest his soul, he passes away. He sued Marvel. There was a big thing about the lawsuit and who owned the rights to it all. Marvel tries to bring Howard back a couple times. It doesn't really work. I mean, I've tried picking up the books because the world's changed since Howard the Duck first came around in the 70s, when back then, like I said, you could be outspoken and you didn't really give a crap. And, people didn't throw you under the bus because they didn't agree with your politics or your views. That's where Howard lived and thrived. Now he's out, but he's much more sanitized. He doesn't want to offend anybody. So the whole concept of Howard the Duck really doesn't work in today's world. I mean, we're trapped in a world we never made, to be honest with you. But he did show up in the Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, in the background of the Collector's Collection.
Yep.
If you look very good, way in the background, there was a little tiny duck in a crate. And at the end of the movie, when he's sitting there, Benicio del Toro is the Collector, and he's drinking some stuff with Cosmo, the little Russian dog there. There's Howard. He shows up, and he's like, "Bleh, you let him lick you or something like that? Those dogs are filthy." This is a toy that you can get if you go on the ride out in Disneyland, which you have.
Yes.
And I have not. So is he in the ride? Spoiler alert.
I don't think so. I can't remember. I don't remember seeing him in there. He might have been in the background, but
yeah.
But he didn't look like Howard the Duck from the comics, I didn't think.
No. I was going to open this too. He has like a hat now.
Yeah.
Like a 70s.
Again, maybe that's to differentiate him from Donald Duck as well.
Well, isn't it ironic though? That Disney buys Marvel after all that hullabaloo, and now he's part of their world now.
Yeah.
And they did just recently try to make a Howard the Duck animated show with Kevin Smith. And it was going to be, instead of the Defenders, it was going to be the Offenders, the Offenders. But they scrapped that once Disney Plus came about, and they said, we're not going to do this Hulu TV series. So Howard the Duck's New Adventures just got scrapped. And that was like a year ago. So that's there. And he does show up in Endgame. At the very end battle, Howard the Duck is in. Yes, he is. When Captain America, gets the hammer and he calls for everybody to assemble, as they all come through the portal, Howard the Duck is walking with this giant blaster in his hand. Right after they show Bucky and Groot come back, you'll look, and the Wasp lands. When she lands, if you look right behind her, you'll see coming through the portal Howard the Duck with a big blaster in his hand. So he is back. And we just will have to see if he makes any other further appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I digress, Ed. Howard the Duck, Lucasfilm's worst movie ever?
Yes.
Huh? Yeah?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Worse than Radioland Murders?
I love Radioland Murders.
Worse than More American Graffiti?
That's okay. I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrendous.
Worse than the Ewok Adventures 1 and 2?
For TV movies, I thought they were pretty good.
Okay, so I guess that is it then. Hands down, or wings down.
Red Tails was pretty. I thought it was okay. What else have they done?
Oh, Red Tails was a good movie. Yeah. And then Twice Upon a Time, I never saw it.
I like that. That's really good. And even like the Maniac Mansion TV series, that was kind of fun.
Young Indiana Jones. Yeah. Hey, I was going to say they are bringing this out. If you are a fan of Howard the Duck, I mean, there are people that like it. There's
Well,
like people that
you know, I say in our thing that it's you know, alleged.
our opinion.
It's an alleged cult classic.
It is.
Because I don't know, you know.
I don't know. There's people that like to get spark plugs on their nipples. I don't know. There's things for everybody in this world. It's a strange planet.
Is that
It's
a Buckaroo
like,
Banzai reference?
maybe.
Oh no, that was on his tongue.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I saw the unrated version. So anyway, Howard the Duck, I was going to say, I did have an encounter with, not Jeffrey Jones, that's another story. I did have an encounter with Miss Leah Thompson. I think it was 5 years ago. We were in Philadelphia at a comic book convention, and I was looking to recruit some guests for Terrificon. And I was on the elevator with Miss Thompson and her sister, who was actually looks very much like her. And you would, if you told me Leah Thompson was in her 50s, I'd think you were crazy. She looked like she was in her 30s. I was like, oh my, that's Marty McFly's mom, and you know, whatever. And she was on the elevator with us, and I was going to ask her if she wanted to come to Connecticut to my show, but of course, my friend Mike Barry, if he's watching this, just for some stupid reason, goes, "Hey, ladies, you know where some guys can go have some fun?" And I'm like, "What?" And then he just looked at us like, no, losers, we don't. And they got out of the elevator, and I just looked at him and I go, I was going to ask her to come to the show, but you're asking her to go out on a date. So I don't know what that's about, but whatever. Her daughter is now an actress on TV.
Okay.
Leah Thompson's daughter. And they asked her if she had seen Howard the Duck. And she said when she was a kid, it was on TV, and they saw the mother in bed with the duck, and they were just cringing because, you know, I don't know.
I think they would not be alone. Everyone was cringing during that. It was
that scene is beyond awkward. I mean,
and then everyone just bursts into the room. You know, they're just
oh yeah.
There are so many. Yeah.
Well, it's a misfire. Again, to sum up our show, is it really that bad? Yeah, it really is that bad. And a guy who likes comic book movies, a guy who sat through the Captain America 1990 movie with Matt Salinger with the rubber ears and actually would watch that before I'd watch this again. The guy who watched all those bad Incredible Hulk TV movies, I would watch all those any given day before I'll sit through this Howard the Duck. And I don't know why it's coming out in 4K this summer. What are they going to do? Clean it up? They're going to make a better movie out of it? Is there deleted scenes that make it all better? I don't know.
Well, I think it'd be, look, it would be nice to see some of those visual effects in, you know,
cleaned
pristine. Up? Yeah, I think so. I think that would be kind of good. And maybe if there is if they have a retrospective documentary on it, that might be interesting to see how.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think would be quite good. But
Tim Robbins, I don't know if this is on his IMDb. Does he still have it on his resume, or did he like get rid of it? You know,
I think it was still there when I looked last. So
there's not a lot of merchandise other than, like I said, the movies. For if you're a Howard the Duck collector, I said before to you, I have this one little this image I came up with. Where is it here? This is about it.
Yeah.
There's a Howard the Duck statue that came out a couple years ago. Not big, a little tiny thing. And then there was the movie poster. That's what it looked like, but I didn't want to go get it. That was the one. I don't think it's worth a lot. I don't think it's gone up in value over the years. So.
Well, the whole thing, it's a bit weird with this film. You know, it's supposed this cult, you know, cult classic. Even when you go on IMDb and you look up the trivia, I always, you know, do that. There's hardly anything.
No,
you know, there's not a lot about it. They do have, you know, you can find some information online about the top, you know, things you didn't know about the movie, but there's nothing really that.
No, there's no like deleted scenes, or there's no like extra stuff in the movie adaptation. You said the novelization was different.
It's a little bit different. Yeah. It's it's worth, well, look, if you like Howard the Duck and you haven't read the novel, you find out a little bit more things. It fleshes out the characters a little bit more. So it's kind of a good standalone read. In fact,
how old an audience do you think this would be for? It's not a kid's movie. I'll tell you that. It's not for 10 years old.
Maybe 16 or 17-year-olds.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it age well? No.
Unlike us, it aged terribly.
No, I'm just saying, is it like a snapshot of the 80s at the time? It's so
I think
broad,
it's again so fake 80s. I feel
yeah,
which is odd because it's there, but it's all that heightened
like her hair was teased too much. She looked like over the top. Like, yeah, look, I'm in the 80s. I'm like Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, it was, and I know what they're doing, but I do feel like they're a bunch of, however old they were at the time, 40-year-olds trying to,
No, she wasn't that old.
No, not Leah Thompson. I'm talking about the creative team,
the creative team. Oh, they were trying to act hip. It's like when your dad shows up and like, hey, kids, I'm swinging and I'm all into the YouTube.
Yeah.
I dig the tweets. Like me.
I felt it was a little bit like that. And, maybe Thomas Dolby wasn't the right choice of singers. Maybe that, music supervisors, maybe they should have got someone like not a Madonna,
John Barry. Wow, that freaks me out now that you said. I'm stunned that he was the music guy.
It just looks like he got a theme and they just slapped it, and then it didn't match any of the action sequences at all. It was just like, yeah. See, anyway. I'm losing my voice now. I'm feeling like I'm throwing up a little bit in my mouth.
It's probably that gum that I had. I mean, if anybody,
how did it come through? Hang on, what?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be dead, like on the Oscars.
Yeah.
I don't think. Did it get any nominations for anything?
It got it got 7 Razzie nominations.
Was that? There's that. Okay.
So
that's about it. No board games. No, nothing.
Nothing.
There's always a Funko Pop. There's 2. I have one where he's in some type of like little tank thing that goes part of some game. And they did come up with a Howard the Duck Funko Pop that goes for a good chunk of change.
Okay.
And there's like a little figure, like a little tiny like wooden, I don't know what you want to call it. And then there's a little action figure. That's it. There's nothing.
Yeah.
After all these years, I mean, that's about all we got for Howard the Duck. So
I'm sure they'll probably do. When I was in pop culture yesterday and I saw all the is it the reaction? Those vintage.
Oh yeah.
Figures. I'm sure they would do. Surely they would do a Howard the Duck.
The one that looks like the one in the movie.
Yeah.
Like Ed Gale. No.
Yeah.
Ed Gale. He's still on Facebook. I'm actually Facebook friends with Ed. You could talk to Ed Gale, the guy that played Howard
he does a fantastic job in this movie.
He does. No, and I got to tell you, one sequence that I cringed when I watched it, God knows how he must have felt, is when the whatever paraglider, whatever you call it, crashes into the water. And I'm assuming Gale's in that suit and not a stunt person. You don't know. But he's like under the water. I mean, he's in a duck costume underwater trying to swim. I mean, that must have been freaking terrifying.
I think that would have been a dummy. I think that was a dummy with.
No, it was moving around. It was moving around next to Tim Robbins. I say this because I remember Fred Silva just died. Fred Silva?
Felix
Silva. Yeah, Fred Silva's the guy I went to school with.
Fred Silva?
No, I remember he was the stunt double for Ke Huy Quan in Temple of Doom. We were talking about Temple of Doom. And I interviewed him, and it's on the IndieCast somewhere. He talks about when they were going down the rapids in that rubber raft.
Yeah.
That he was terrified of water because he couldn't swim. And he said, if it flips over, what am I going to do? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it, Felix. You'll be fine. And sure enough, it flips over. And he was under the water with that raft on top of him. And I think he's about 3 feet tall. And he was literally drowning. I mean, he was in the short round costume. He was freaked out. Spielberg went nuts, grabbed him and said, listen, I promise you, nothing like that will ever happen again. I am so sorry, because this guy was terrified that he was going to drown. And that was a real river. It wasn't like a backlot or something. That was a real thing. And that's all I kept thinking when I was watching this movie is there's this actor in this suit like a duck, and he's like under the water flopping around trying to get out. I'm like,
well, they had like 6 actors, all performing Howard the Duck. They could have just we'll get let's get Fred Silva in instead.
Felix Silva. Fred's career never took off. Yeah. Anyway, that's our look at Howard the Duck, Ed. Yeah. Ed, how do more people find out about Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure?
Well, all you have to do is either do a Google search, look at us we're on Facebook, of course, and you can also hit the subscribe button below. hit that notification, listen to that bell, and then you'll find out when you've got a new episode to enjoy. And we've got a plethora of episodes. I think this is our 35th episode that we've got, covering Happy Days, Battlestar Galactica, The Muppet Show,
Land of the Lost,
Land
Superman
of the
the
Lost,
movie,
yeah.
Rocketeer, you name it. We
Tron,
got it.
Tron, give us some love for Tron.
Hey, I got to tell you, I just found out that Rocky 4 is coming out in theaters again. With new footage, with 40 minutes of new footage. And that movie's like 30-something years old too, but it's called Rocky versus Drago now. It's coming out this summer in the States. I don't know why. Yeah, I just heard it the other day. I'm like, oh, well, see, we are bringing the past back. Imagine if they do Howard the Duck updated version and bring it back, and they clean it up and they make a good movie out of it.
Well, I'll eat my hat if that happens. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, you're quacking me up, Ed.
Now don't.
Did you notice how many duck jokes are in this movie?
There are a foul amount of sorry, that's just.
Oh, Ed, you just laid an egg again.
Really? Well, at least you can find out all about it on the web.
And Ed, don't forget, there's poultry of episode. I mean, plenty of episodes left to go.
That was yeah. I'm going to tell you to duck off now. So
no, Ed, please. This is Mitch Duck Halleck,
and this is Ed Malladster. I don't know. Anyway, this is Ed Dollister
and Mitch Halleck
saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye.